Hi everybody, welcome to Queer Stories on the Swan, episode 2. We're a podcast where two gay men chat and discuss all things queer in the Perth LGBTQIA+ community. I'm your host, Chris.
And I'm your other host, Christo. And today's episode, we're talking to Kieran Ball, his life story and his business. So sit back and enjoy the show.
So we have our guest here, Kieran Ball. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Yeah, you are.
Lovely to meet you. Thank you for coming onto the show.
Yeah.
We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
That's all right.
Exciting.
So we'll just get the pronouns thing out of the way. I'm Chris, he, him. Christo is he, him, they, them, anything.
Yeah. Mine is Kieran and he, him.
Yep.
Or anything that feels comfortable, really, but he, him mainly.
Perfect.
Yep.
Oh, good.
Cool.
All right. So, Kieran, take us from the beginning or wherever you want to start.
Yeah.
Where you start? Okay, so I'm from the UK originally. Grew up there. I was there till I was about 8 years old, and then I moved over to WA, and I've been here ever since. Would you like me to touch on like my coming out side of things, or what would you say?
Yeah, that's the main thing we're highlighting here. But if you want to add context around that, or if you want to, there's really not a lot of limitations here, hon. So don't stress too much.
Yeah. So
Speak your mind.
Speak my mind. So I was pretty lucky with my coming out story, and my parents have been really supportive, which is always makes it a lot easier, I think. But so I came out when I was 19 to my parents, and they definitely had a lot of questions, which I thought it's always a bit challenging when for me it was quite hard to come out because I didn't really grow up around anyone within the community, and I didn't know anyone, and it wasn't really something that my family often talked about, which made it difficult for me to know what they're going to say, because it was just never talked about. So I really made it quite difficult for me, not because of them or anything like that. It was just I just didn't really know how to bring it up. And so that's probably why I waited a little bit longer till I was 19. And they had a lot of questions, which when I first told them, I suppose they had questions like, does this mean we're not going to be grandparents, or, how do you know, and all that kind of thing. So they had a lot of questions, which at the time I thought was, like, oh my God, why can't you just be fine with it, sort of thing. So I find that difficult, but I think really they just wanted to understand, because they'd known me for 19 years up to that point and didn't know that part of my life. So I think they just really wanted to understand like a bit more. I think they felt like I was keeping something, which I think is hard, right? Because you want to be ready. You need to be ready, I think.
Of course.
And then after that, they've always been great ever since, which has been good. But definitely, being in the community and things like that, I know it's not the case for everyone. So I think knowing where you're at, knowing you've got support is a big one. Like, I started off telling just a few circle friends, and making sure I had support around me, because, I know for a lot of people it's a lot more challenging, and, it's important to be safe, I think.
Of course. And, with strangers and everything these days, it's still risky, despite the fact that we're living in better times and like a lot more progressive times and more accepting times. It can be very much a challenge. So you said this is when you were about 19, was that correct?
Yeah.
So this wasn't, so you didn't obviously come out or anything through high school, but you obviously knew or you suspected at that time. So what was that like?
I think that was hard because I was 19 when I came out, but I kept it suppressed, I think, for a long time. So I didn't really, talk to guys or do anything like that until I was 19. It was very much all at once sort of thing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, totally. And in school, there just was no one around. I never, honestly, until I was 19, I'd never even met someone that was gay. Never.
Yeah.
I just never,
Yeah.
you know. And so I felt like I just didn't really know what I was. I didn't know. I just remember thinking if I was friends with a girl, for example, I was like best friends with them. I was like, oh, well, is that what romance? Is that what attraction's like? I just had no idea because, you know. And yeah, so it was really strange being in school and just not really having that drive, like interest or attraction that other people had. I just didn't have it. And I didn't really understand why. Like I was like, is there something, you know, going on? Like what's going on here? But yeah, turns out I'm gay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I can definitely like relate to the, you know, you don't really have that kind of discussion. You don't really know anyone who's gay in high school. You don't really know how to have those discussions. I went to high school, to a private Christian school or Baptist college, and while you know there was no mention of homosexuality or any you know taboo about it, it just I guess wasn't discussed. And you know, being very introverted, I didn't really like a lot of attention. I didn't want to bring that into the equation because like I had like slight teasing throughout school, but nothing too bad. But I didn't want to amplify that. Is that what it was kind of like for you?
yeah, I suppose the sad it is, it's like you're right. You could amplify it or put a target on yourself. And I think school is such like, you know, you leave school and you choose your friend, you choose, you know, it's a lot different. But when you're in school, it's like you're with these people and, you know, it can be really bad, it can be really good, depends on your experience, right? And yeah, as you said, in many ways, it's like, oh, do you want to put a target on your back? Not that it should be like that at all. But yeah, I suppose, yeah, I was just getting through school, doing what I needed to do. And sort of, I was still working out, who I was at that point. Like I think even if I was in a different environment, I didn't really understand and work that side of me out at that point. So yeah, that was sort of my experience in school. And, you know, and same thing, I went to an all boys school as like that was private Christian values, like
so that would have been a bit difficult dealing with any you know gay feelings.
Totally, absolutely. And you know it was very everyone was about sport and you know that was like that, it was that kind of energy and it just I didn't ever really feel like I fit in. I don't think I just didn't know where I fit, but I knew I didn't fit in.
Like did you have any like outlets? Like I got really into drama, like because that was like my sport. Did you have like a different outlet that was kind of considered not really the norm at the school, which you thought maybe that might label me as gay? Do you know what I mean?
I got into music, like I play guitar and things like that, but I did try drama. I wasn't very good at it. I'm pretty sure my drama teacher told me not to do drama again.
I mean, and sometimes that can be a good moment of defiance because I did a TAFE course. Oh God, I finished it like 8 years ago. But he said I would never be a good editor. I still don't think I'm a good editor, but I still edit and I still make a good product. So defy expectations, doll.
Crazy. They're there to inspire you and then they tell you, nah, it's not for you.
I think he tried to do it in the best way possible, but he was kind of an ass, so there's only so much you can do with that. But that's good. So you came out in 19. How old are you now?
I'm 24.
24. Wow. So you've been out for 5 years. What have you had much interaction with the community, or are you part of like a social group like the Perth Front Runners or anything like that?
So I volunteered for Pride for quite a few years. Specifically, it's not around at the moment, but there was Pride Sports Festival. I don't know if you ever heard of that. So I was I worked there volunteered there for 2 years, which I loved. And like hearing stories through that was like inspiring. I remember even like parents came up to me and they're like, that's the first time we've ever watched our son or daughter or, you know, play sport. And
wow.
I was like, wow. And, you know, sometimes you're like 30 years old or, you know, something like that. And you think, they just felt as though that they didn't fit in the community, even though they wanted to do it, which I thought was so touching and also sad, right, as well.
Yeah.
So I've done that, and then I lived in America for a little bit.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that was a whole different experience as well. So when I was 19, I moved there to Florida, which is really it was amazing. And it was very supportive and progressive over in that particular area.
Yeah, it is.
And I think that really helped me, you know, being like that sense of belonging and being able to, because I came out, as you said, only 5 years ago, but it feels like a lifetime ago. But
when you get to like your early to mid 20s, because I'm 26, I'm 27 this year, time just speeds through so fast, and you're just like, what is going on? I finished high school 10 years ago. What?
Wait till you get to your 30s, sweetheart.
It's
quicker.
I've gone on the record in saying that after my 30th birthday, that's it. I'm not celebrating any more birthdays. I'm just going
celebrating
to exist.
30s.
Yeah. I'm gonna be an old and wrinkly 30-year-old one day.
Whereas I'm just going to keep getting older.
That's it. Right.
Oh, that's really good. So do you have a partner? Do you have a partner?
I do.
All right. Tell us a story with that. What was that like? Because is he your first partner, or did you have like previous experiences, or?
Yeah, I've had a few not so great experiences.
As we all have. Yeah.
Yeah, haven't we all, right? I've been with Josh for 2.5 years now. So it was great. So I mean, we met on Tinder, which is like, you know, a love story online. So
all of my partners have been through Tinder, so no judgment here. Yeah,
totally. Why not? So we met on Tinder. We were talking. I reckon we talked for like 8 months, honestly, online before we met him.
Wow.
Got to know him on a got to know each other like on a personal level before we even started dating or anything like that. And he's from the UK as well. I don't know. I can't describe it. It's just perfect, really. Like, we get on. We're very similar. He's very like, I'm more the emotional one. He's very like, like, you know.
Yeah, that's me.
I think that's always sometimes the way. There's usually the emotional one, then the laid back one.
The laid back one.
And I suppose, I suppose because you're both in the UK, you know, and you're living here in Australia, you might have that kind of bond because it's someone from home. You know, like there's cultural differences between the UK and Australia. Not a huge lot, but like there's obviously when you're just with someone that you're not familiar with, that's gonna feel the best. Yeah,
totally. And we've got like a similar sense of humor and things like that, which
is great. It works.
Right, totally.
That's great. So you've been dating for like a couple of years. Like you must have gotten together like during the COVID pandemic. Like did that kind of affect your relationship?
Wow.
I know it's been around for us for so long now. So when the pandemic did come down, like did it put any strain because you know you may not have been able to see each other as much, or did anything happen with that?
Well, I think it was definitely like a whole different challenge. We actually moved in pretty quick. Like we moved in together after maybe I think almost like 2 months of dating, which is very quick.
Wow.
I know. So very quick. So we were living together during that time when COVID, you know, and still obviously today. But I worked in the airline industry at the time. So
okay.
Wow.
So it was like I went home and I was like, okay, you just moved in and I've got no income at the moment. Like, you know, because they kind of stood us down. So that was, it was definitely stressful. Like, I think it made us like have to rely on, like, you know, after 2 months, you wouldn't expect someone to rely on you, especially financially, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that sped up the process a lot. And obviously, you know, after that amount of time, you don't know each other that well at that point, right? So it was definitely a challenge, but I mean, we worked through it, and I think that's the main thing. Like, we just communicated, And luckily, you know, JobKeeper and things like that came out. But at the time when I first was in the airline industry, that wasn't even a thing. So it was literally like, okay, I don't have an income, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, it was definitely challenging, but we worked through it, which was the main thing.
That's good.
And I think, but still going strong.
That's good.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Yeah.
So have you been able to work again in the airlines? Because I know, like, because I've got friends who have been able to go back and do a bit of work there, but sometimes they had to be restricted on what shifts they can take because, you know, it's a bit hard going around internationally at the moment. Has that been impacting of you much, or?
So I'm not doing that anymore. I work in communications now for a health company, I wouldn't name it, but yes, I'm doing that now. Which during COVID, when I was like, okay, what do I do now? Like I really focused on, I was doing a degree at the time, so I really focused on that and tried to make the best out of that situation that you can.
Right.
But yeah, no, I'm not there anymore. But I did love it. It was good fun.
Yeah, that's good.
And especially like touching on like, you know, your identity and things like that. The airline industry, you know, it's got, you know, a huge amount of the community part of it.
Yeah.
That was also a great environment to be in and be like supported.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
100%.
And I think work as well, like, can be challenging if you're not in an environment where it's not supportive.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So, and it just means like you're not bringing your real self to work and things like that. You're not in that kind of situation. So, yeah that's kind of my story of us living together and things like that.
No, that's such a good thing to hear. Very cute. Yeah. Very nice. But so I think, do you think we've basically covered the basics? I know you haven't got like a super long life, but hey, it doesn't matter how extensive it is, as long as we're connecting with people in the community, because that's what this is really about.
Because everyone's different.
Yeah,
totally. Everyone's got a different story and experience to tell. Absolutely. But yeah, that's sort of the basics. I'd say, other than, you know, I mean, I've got a great relationship now. It hasn't always been the case. And especially when I was finding out who I was and things like that. And the first people I like, you know, were attracted to necessarily weren't always the best. Especially like, when I went to America, I mean, I really I found myself that, especially not in good ways in terms of relationships and things like that.
Yeah.
And I think that was hard going from, 19 years for when really I haven't done, you know, I haven't tried relationships, haven't done anything. And then, okay, this is the first thing. Maybe this is how it's meant to be.
Yeah.
And got myself into some toxic situations in terms of that.
Yeah. People don't understand that because, like, you know, at school, heterosexual couples can get together and it's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
So it's a lot harder until you get older before you realize what a relationship actually is.
It's definitely true. 100% agree. Because I'm a TikTok dad now. I'll happily just say it. In my defense, I had to do market research for radio, so that's my excuse. But like, I've come across one where it was like a guy in his like mid-20s, and he's like, I don't know how to date. I didn't have that experience in high school. Now people are expecting me to not be so childish with my dating because I'm a certain age. But you know, because I didn't really have my first male relationship until I was 19, and my God, I was like a 16-year-old girl. You know, and it's this brand new feeling. You know, you're all jittery. I never had that before. Like, yes, I had people I was attracted to, but I never actually had a relationship. And of course, when you're in a first relationship and you're very naive to how it works, you're not aware of some of the toxic traits that a relationship like that can have on you. And it was not a great first relationship, but you know, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. I'm glad I had it. But you know, it was not a healthy relationship at all. Like, we got together too fast. Looking back on it, we were very incompatible. But having those experiences does allow you to grow wise enough to start trusting yourself and knowing what you want. Not being picky, but knowing yourself and your limits. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. And that's the thing. If, as you said, like, you know, people in like heterosexual couples in high school and things like that have that experience. you know.
Yeah.
But if later in life, and not everyone comes out at 19, like
No.
some people it's like 30, 40, everyone's experience is different. And I suppose, as you said, how can you know what you want or what you expect and things like that until you've actually experienced it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I sometimes think certain types of people, are attracted to, like, I mean, I was kind of in a vulnerable state when I was at 19. I think certain types of people were attracted to that. And, that, you know what I mean? So
something about 19 is just that age where you just kind of, I'm here, someone take me, you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. That's it. And that's what I was like, okay, this was the first person that was interested in me and I was interested in them. I was like, oh, well, must be love.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't, so, but as you said, it's like only experience, and then for the next time, hopefully.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And that's, and that's not everything. That's not something that everyone gets to experience. Some people might have a really bad experience and then they might not come out anymore, like, and then go back into the closet and then have a little bit more self-homophobia because they might have had an experience that just makes them not want to come out or be around the community anymore. So then they feel like that they're just wrong and they don't feel like they belong. Yeah. And I have noticed that in the community these days, and I'm kind of hoping to start getting rid of that. Yeah. Because, we are in this together. Like, there is a lot of people outside the community that do not like us. The religious discrimination bill, for example. And so basically what I'm trying to get at is that as a community, we do need to stand together. And I think this is one of the best ways to do that, is to connect with each other, compare different stories. No one's, better than others because they've suffered more. As long as we're connecting and being understanding and actually being a community again. Yeah. Not that I'm not saying we're not a community, but there's definitely some attitudes that kind of prevent it from feeling like one sometimes. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
So that's what this is all about. So and I'm glad we can somehow contribute to this. Not somehow, by making a podcast. That's how we can contribute. It's not somehow.
But totally. I mean, bringing people together and letting them tell their story is powerful as well.
Yeah.
100%.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
Yeah, no, it's very, very good. All right. So I wanted to get that stuff out the way, Kieran, because I know you've got a candle business that I'm sure you're itching to promote on here.
Yeah, I do. So Eco Candles, it's called.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so basically the story behind that and what I touched on earlier is, like me discovering who I was, it took a long time. Yeah. And so acceptance takes even longer, right? It took me, I'm still working on that. But the sort of thing was Eco Candles was, it took me a while to feel like I was at home or belonged somewhere, right?
Yeah.
And I wanted to, and even when this is my house now, but, even when I was building a house with my partner, there wasn't as many queer brands. I could be like, okay, I want to celebrate myself and my identity and my space because that's important to me, right? And so, me and my partner, we both worked on this together, and there's a few things that it stands behind, but we're a queer brand and we celebrate, people being their authentic selves. Mm-hmm. And, the names and things like that, we've really, they're inspired from my life experience and other bits and bobs. But what it's really about and what I'm saying is Light with Pride, it's meant to be, candles can be relaxing. It can be something you do when you unwind. And it's meant to be really something that from the community, something you can maybe feel proud about and sort of being like, okay, I'm unwinding. This is almost like a ritual sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And as well as that, we're also bringing awareness, something that I'm passionate about and I think needs to stop is something, I don't know if you've heard much about conversion therapy.
Oh, yes. Yes, we're very well aware.
Yes.
Yeah. So we run, there's a petition through Equality, Equality AU, and it's on our website, and we're going to be promoting that pretty heavily, trying to put a stop because, there's a few states where it's banned in Australia, but not entirely, WA being one of the states where it's not.
Yes.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was only last year they had a conversion road camp, they called it, something horrible.
Oh my god.
At the
in
RSC
Cobra.
Arena. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Oh.
yeah, and you know, like this, my first partner actually had a really horrible experience through that, and learning his story, and his, like listening to his experience, like, you know, they essentially sit you down and say, okay, here, put out your family tree. And so say, you know, this person's done that, say your auntie has an alcohol problem, they're like, okay, well, that's why you've turned out gay. And they make you put yourself against
my
the
god.
Yeah. Or it's
horrible.
you don't have a strong enough father figure, or something like that. Yeah.
Oh, that's
Totally.
horrible.
So we're hoping to bring awareness around that as well. So it does have a cause behind it, and also promote other, you know, causes and things like that. That, you know, you mentioned the school at the moment where they're asking people to sign, you know.
Yes. Well, they retracted that, but the fact that it was put forward in the first place just proves that there is still a lot to work on.
Yeah.
Totally. So yeah, and so we're hoping to promote other causes through it as well.
Brilliant.
Yeah, so that's sort of the story behind it, Equal Candles. And yeah, something that me and my partner are both super proud of and passionate about. We've only been going since November, so we're quite new.
Still very new. I don't suppose you have any samples that you could show us.
I'll have to,
of course, we're recording a video, so we could put this on like a video part, but do you have like a sample candle or anything?
I do have it burning right there.
Oh, okay. Looks nice. What I can see. Yep.
Yeah.
I don't have some labels. Let me have a look.
God, I love candles, so this is like, wow.
Oh, do you? Yeah, me
yes.
too.
That's all right.
The amount of candles I have.
This is sort of the way it is. So it's the equal sign.
That's gorgeous.
Yeah, beautiful.
Oh, thank you. So they're all soy-based, vegan, and so yeah, we've got 6 main scents, which is Domestic Goddess, Vanilla Queen, Fruity AF, Strawberry Kisses, Miss Salty Sea.
Those are the most adorable names ever. I love that.
Oh, it's so much fun coming up with the names.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cute.
We're gonna have to check it out, definitely.
Well, I think we might have to get maybe a picture of your candles on our socials.
Yeah, totally. I'll send it through. Absolutely. Thank you so much.
No, we appreciate that. There's not a sponsorship, by the way. Just so people are aware, there's not a sponsorship. I'm just trying to get to know Kieran and his business. So
thank you. No, I appreciate that, and the support from the community so far has been really great.
Of course, good.
Not so, some people outside of the community not so great, but when you put yourself out there.
Yeah,
that's the risk. And honestly, I think because I actually promoted our last episode on different Facebook groups in the queer community, and we had someone going like next. So I'm like, oh, do we have a hate comment?
Oh my god,
do we have a hate comment? And I feel like
maybe did you even listen?
Maybe this is me just avoiding the negative stuff. I'm like, maybe is having a hater kind of like validating yourself?
Yes. Yes,
like,
totally.
So it's like if you're successful if you have some haters. Like if you got some people who don't like your stuff, as long as the going to majority of support, then hey, oh well, So
when you're pushing boundaries, you're
exactly.
You know what I mean? It's a sign you're pushing boundaries.
Yeah, and it's a good thing. So keep annoying people.
Totally. I've had it, especially on social. When people can just type what they want and go. And I've had stuff where people say, "Oh, you're too gay," or "You're too," all sorts of things.
You're too gay, yet you're promoting equal candles with the bloody rainbow on them.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. But it's just, and you know what? It's just people just comment on things and then off they go, comment on the next thing. And it's just like, I try not to focus on it.
Because look, that's never going to stop. No matter how much you try, that's never going to stop.
Yeah.
But in the end, they're boosting your algorithm because they're still giving attention. So if anything, they're just helping you.
Exactly right. And at the end of the day, it's a sign that, as I said, you're pushing boundaries. So obviously you're doing something right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
And I'd rather be doing it for the right reason rather than making something that's going to help that person who's going to write a horrible message.
Yeah.
So,
as All Right Hey says, if anyone knows who that is, reflect the haters.
Reflect the haters.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
No
unless they're
time for it.
paying your bills, pay the bitches no
Yeah.
mind.
Exactly.
Again, I love quoting RuPaul's Drag Race. I'm so bad at it, but I just love doing it.
Yeah. Oh, who doesn't? I love RuPaul's. I mean, like some of these names, I'm like, oh goodness, this would be on the RuPaul's episode.
Yeah. The winner of RuPaul's Drag Race wins a yearly supply of equal candles.
Yeah.
Listen, that would be a dream.
Oh my God.
What a sponsorship that would be.
Yeah.
Do we have anything more to add? Kieran, do you have anything else you want to? Actually, I'm trying to do this with every guest. With your experiences of what you've gone through, and this could be with anything, what advice would you have for someone who hasn't quite come out yet, comes out after high school, suspects it, suppresses it down, travels abroad, and tries to have those kind of relationships, like anything, like any advice that you want to give?
I say, like, number one, of course, is make sure you're safe in any situation, right? That's probably the first thing. But I think from my experience, you know, I felt a lot of pressure and felt like, oh my God, when this happened, you know, I was so scared, sort of thing. I didn't know it's the unknown. I think anything in life, it's the unknown. You don't really know. But I think surrounding yourself with people, good friends, you know, not hundreds of friends, your core group, and being in a place where you can tell them, you know, how you feel, what you're feeling, and maybe even if it's just you tell one person to begin with, if you want to, you know, it's your own journey. Like you can't tell someone.
Sorry, I will interject. Do not feel pressured ever to come out, no matter how many people press or saying you need to come out. You need to do. No, you come out when you are good and ready, because it's incredibly personal. And to be outed before you're ready, I haven't had that, but I can imagine that must be horrific, because then that choice is taken away from you. Yeah, exactly. So that's the thing. You need, totally. And do you know what? That's actually what happened to me. I told one person, and then everyone.
Oh my God!
I came out to just one person in my family. That was it, and then everyone else got told.
Yeah.
And that's hard as well, because I think, you know, then it takes your power away. It's like you're no longer like, okay, I'm fully vulnerable now.
Mm-hmm.
As you said, like, I think if any advice is, you know, make sure you've got a good grip around you, and don't rush it. Know who you are, because also it can affect your mental health as well. You know, it can really, if you have a bad experience as well. So being centered and things like that, I think, are really important. And, you know, I didn't rush. Like, I kind of said it when I was ready to. Maybe not everyone, not the whole family, but I just think, you're on your own journey, and it takes time, sort of thing. That's my experience, you know. But I think it can be challenging. You know, I've got friends that had different experiences where they've been told to leave home or things like that, which is really sad. So make sure you're safe. I always think that's the first thing. Just make sure you're safe. So that's been my experience though.
Well, thank you for that. We really, really appreciate it. So Kieran, I think we're done here. So unless you have something else to add, we're very, very happy that you came on the show. And
thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Lovely to meet you.
You too, guys. Thank you.
All right, have a good one.
All right, you too. All right, bye.
All right, see ya. Thank you for listening to Queer Stories on the Swan. You can leave a review for us wherever you get your podcasts.
You can find us on our socials, Facebook and Instagram.
I'm Chris.
And I'm Christo.
And stay fabulous.